Burnley this morning, Simon, sits 16th, albeit they've only won 3 and 13, but they're 16th in the league. So it's a 2-1 win over Wolves. We often say, wonder what Sean Dyche would do with more resources at his disposal. Well, he might get that opportunity with his takeover if it goes through and the riches that it brings.
Yeah.
Then the level of budget might increase and we can really see the cuts of Sean Dyche's jib, if you like, and see what that brings. Having said that, he does brilliantly with what he's got. So, might it work against him? I don't know. I mean,
they often say that no choice is the best choice, or limited choice, because then you're not put into a situation where you have to make a variety of different decisions. He doesn't have no choice. He has decent players, players that are honest, players that he gets the very best from, and that's not being disrespectful. I like Chris Wood as a centre forward. I like a lot of their players, but they aren't the most creative of teams, and they aren't the most ambitious at times because they play to the level that they're at. But what we see with Sean Dyche is, he's solid. Where every year you get this same old dialogue being trotted out, which is all Burnley are relegation fodder. Yeah. And every year you get the same response from Burnley. They either start slowly and pick up momentum because they've been in the Europa League and it's caused an impaction, or they haven't started well and people start to question whether Burnley this season are going to be a side that's going to be relegated. And every year Dyche digs in, does the same thing. Now, the translation of that, I've often equated it to the Eddie Howe or Alan Curbishley syndrome. I'm not disputing the fact that Alan Curbishley did okay at West Ham, but his moment was at Charlton when he was taking Charlton to heights that no one anticipated they could get to. Yeah. Eddie Howe did similar things. Yeah. And then you take these guys out of these clubs and sometimes you remove the strength of what they've been able to produce by putting it into different environments. Now, that's not saying that Sean Dyche isn't entitled to another opportunity. Then you look at it and say, well, where would Sean Dyche go to? Because I don't see him going into an Arsenal, even though Arsenal are 15th in the league and one space above Burnley. Yeah. And you look at it and say, well, where does Dyche go? I think a few years ago he might have gone to Crystal Palace. There was a discussion about that particular scenario that didn't manifest itself in an opportunity for Sean rather than the other way around. But he's a really good manager. He's a really decent manager, and and whether they get.
So you think he could go to a different level now? Because the other day you had doubts about it.
No, I didn't have doubts about his ability to go to a different level. I'm questioning where he goes, and also the very point that you've made at the top of the show, which is all of a sudden you take these guys out of an environment where they're head cook and bottle washer, and you put them amongst people that are ultimately players that have aspirations of grandeur in terms of their own expectations of what they think they're entitled to, or their own delusions of what they're actually entitled to, and you put them into a different environment where you've got a different set of characters to manage. And I wonder how he would do there. Now, saying that, Ralph Hasenhüttl is managing Southampton, that people have, less ideals about in terms of what they're capable of achieving, and here they sit as 7th in the league. Yeah. But Burnley have been there. Burnley have been 7th. Yeah. So he's been right at the top. Yeah. It's about where where you would see a Sean Dyche fitting, or more to the point, where a Sean Dyche would want to go. If Burnley get a takeover and they're prepared to spend a lot of money backing him, then you'll see a different dimension, because Sean doesn't have the luxury of 40 or 50 million pound centre forwards. He may get that luxury, and that luxury may work against him.
Yeah, but I think it'd be intriguing, Simon, to see how it works out. I mean, let's see what he can do with more resources at his disposal. I mean, I'd love to see that. He's doing a great job with what he's got, but what could he do at Burnley?
The flip side for Burnley's argument is if we go and we sit here every year, like Burnley, and we finish mid-table, bottom half of the table, or 7th in the league, and what that actually means to us is probably £2 million a spot in merit payments, because every place that you get in the Premier League, you get a £2 to £2.5 million merit payment. So if you finish 5 or 6 places higher, you get an extra £12.5 million. Yeah. So if you've got ambitious owners that come in and want to spend 50, 60 million pound on players, you don't finish any higher, then economically the club is no better off.
Yeah, sure.
So it's a false economy. But Sean would be able to perhaps have a better opportunity to ply his trade with different players. I'm not sure. There's an old saying, isn't there, and a very good book written once called "Be careful what you wish for." Because sometimes you might just get
behind that. Yeah. Oh yes, it was your book. That's right.